All right, Prop the Mic, PTM here, presented by Props.Cash, here for our second Thursday Night Football podcast. And we have a very special returning guest on the pod, and her first time on the pod to talk NFL. What's up, Breezy?
What's going on? Glad to be back.
We're excited to have you.
Yeah, it's we know this is your bread and butter, so we can't wait to hear what you have to say.
This is our second Thursday Night Football. We got the Philly expert in the house here. So I think we should probably start on the Philly side of the ball. What do you say, Dave?
Yeah. Let's start just talking about the line on the game, right?
Okay.
Because we're gonna dive into player props plenty, but
okay.
So
I'm excited.
I'm
sorry.
Minnesota at Philly. Philly's -6.5 this game, and the total is 48.5. So I'm gonna stop there before we go into any player props, and let's get some takes on the game itself. What are we feeling? And actually, before we do, real quick, last week Minnesota lost to the Bucks, right? The Tom Brady-less Bucks, Baker Mayfield Bucks, and Philly won 25-22 in New England. So that was a tough game, right? They were blowing them out. New England came back. I'm sure you were stressed out during that, Breezy, but a win's a win. One team's 1-0, the other team's 0-1, and now we're back in Philly. And these two teams did play week 2 last year as well, where Philly won 24-7. So with all that said, 6.5 points. You think Philly will cover that tonight?
Yes. No explanation needed. I feel like they will, and I'm going back and forth about it because you know the kind of chip a team will carry on their shoulder when they lost their first game, going into a hostile environment. You know, they've been here before. Like you said, last year they lost pretty bad. And you know, I think Philly is they just have more oomph, I guess, to get back on track tonight, and we're home. We're in front of our fans, you know.
Yeah.
There's no losing in South Philly, not right now, at least. So I think the Eagles cover the 6.5. I don't think it'll be that big of an issue for them to cover. It might be a late cover, if anything. But I mean, I'm on the record on my podcast saying that the Eagles are going to blow them out 31-13. So it is what it is.
Perfect. I'm with you.
I love the Eagles laying the points here. You did get the win in week 1, but it was not a good win. I'm sure you were not happy with that win. It almost felt like a loss in a lot of ways. So they're going to look to have a big bounce back game here, coming back home to Philly from New England. And I couldn't agree more. I think it's a great spot for them to put some serious points on the board. I do worry about Minnesota played a lot of close games last year. I do worry about a little backdoor cover from Minnesota here, possibly, but I'm pretty confident in Philly laying the 6.5.
Yeah, I think the 6.5 is nice. If that creeps up to 7.5, I would probably lay off just because of that backdoor cover. I was also reading an article. I think Minnesota was the luckiest team in the league last year. So they just won so many close games, and their record was like way higher than kind of reflecting their quality of their team. So I think we won't see that quite as much.
Something like 8-1 in one-score games, crazy like that. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah. All right, so just talking about like player performance in the previous matchup, Cousins did not have a very good game. He had 221 passing yards, 1 touchdown, 3 interceptions, right? So we'll come back to that.
It was a sad day. He's everyone's new favorite quarterback from the Netflix show. My son loves Kirk Cousins now. My sister-in-law, everybody loves Kirk Cousins now from that show.
Oh, man.
Yeah. Well, he had that good moment on the airplane after that one win last year where he was dancing around. All right, and hear this out. Do you know who led the team in rushing in that game last year? It was also Kirk Cousins.
Oh, that's right. He had like
20 rushing yards. That's it.
Yeah. That doesn't make any sense. But
yeah. So and even Jefferson was kept in check. He had 12 targets and only, I think, 48 receiving yards. On the Philly side, Hurts had a monster game, 333 yards, which is pretty high for him. 1 touchdown, 1 pick. And then, from a receiving standpoint, Goddard, who we'll talk about in a second, had 82 receiving yards. And Devonta Smith had a big game with 80 receiving yards as well. So that was last year. Let's talk about this year. Breezy, why don't you start us off with your favorite? Why don't we start on the offensive side? What's your favorite offensive pick?
My favorite offensive pick is Dallas Goedert. I was looking around. I saw him like kind of somewhere between 48.5 and 50.5 receiving yards for the game. If you want to be absolutely safe, you can run the alt line down to 40 plus receiving yards. I think he can get that with no problem since he was so neglected last week. We saw it with Devontae Smith last year. He didn't really get a whole lot of touches or receptions in week 1, and then comes out and has a monster game in week 2. And I think the same thing goes for Dallas Goedert this year. If you want to play with fire, go for the over 48.5. That is minus 182 on FanDuel, if I'm not mistaken. And he cleared this. He cleared the 40 receiving yards in 11 out of the 16 games that he played, including the playoffs last year. So very confident in him to clear that 48.5 line.
It's actually down as low as 45.5 on DraftKings right now. Yeah.
Yeah. Take the 45.
You're paying some juice. I think it's minus 140, but it was it's come down a bit. I know we've disagreed on plays going back to the NBA season. I couldn't agree with you more. This is my favorite play of the night. I think they overcompensate for the lack of targets he had in week 1. Last season he cleared this line in 10 of 15 games. If you look at the 45.5, he cleared it in 10 of 15 games. He also has a nice little pattern. If you look at props.cash, should we pull up the screen here, Dave?
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely.
Let's do it. You'll see a nice pattern here, a nice trend that whenever he has a bad game, he comes back like a 20-yard game last season. He came back with like 2 monster games. So I definitely see this happening tonight. One of his misses, he had, I think, 46 yards against the Giants. So he was close to being like 11 for 15 last season. So I love this play. Couldn't agree more.
All right. So you want to pull up Goddard?
Yeah, let's just see that nice pattern he's got. Put the full season there. 22. There you go. See, 2 down, 2 down, 2 down.
Yeah,
so he's ready to explode tonight.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I think so. I wanted to be that overreacting fantasy football owner, and I got him on my team. I was ready to bench him this week because of last week's performance, but you're telling me stick with him. He's going to put up a big night. All right, good.
He averaged 5.5 targets last year. I mean, for him to have 0 or 1, whatever it was, not going to happen again.
All right. So let me ask you about this other on the receiving side. So we got AJ Brown at 72.5 receiving yards. You can get that for minus 125, or Devonta Smith for 62.5 receiving yards. Breezy, which of those do you like better?
For fantasy football purposes, Devontae Smith, because I have him on my team. But I mean, I think you could go with either one, honestly. Even if they're in double coverage, they're going to go up and get it. And I think their Minnesota's defense is just going to be in a lose-lose situation with these guys. And I think you could go with either one, but me personally, I'd probably take Devontae Smith.
Yeah, I think so too. I mean, they both had a 52% hit rate last season, including week 1 of this season. Let's see if we can pull them up. So pull up Smith. What I just like the lower line on Smith being 62.5. They both also had 10 targets in week 1. So I think that's pretty amazing. AJ Brown, though, listen to this stat. When he gets 7 targets, his hit rate goes from 52% up to 69%. 8 targets on the Eagles, he goes up to 77%. And when he's had 9 targets, a perfect 100%. So if he gets 9 targets tonight, he's clearing that 73 yards. Smith, I think, is also a pretty solid pick. So I don't think you can go wrong with either of them. I just kind of like the lower line for Smith at 62.5 for 73 for Brown. Good.
Yeah, that's good. That's the place to target Minnesota. I have their pass defense ranked 20th overall, as opposed to their rush defense. I think this is a little amplified just because of the way the game played out against Tampa Bay. I actually have their rush defense at 4 overall. I think that's a little bit high, though. We'll see. Some of these numbers will start to get a little bit better as we get more data. The passing game is where to target Minnesota.
All right, very good. Breezy, back to you. Any other picks for this game?
On the offensive side of the ball?
Either one. We'll go either way.
Well, okay, so defensively, I tweeted this out probably 3 or 3:30 this morning. Jalen Carter to record, I think DraftKings has it at 0.75 sacks for the game. When I found it, it was at plus 200. I placed my bet on it at plus 190, and I think right now, as of right before this show, it was at plus 185. So cashed on it last week, like literally the last series of the game almost.
Oh yeah.
And I'm looking forward to seeing him like penetrate that line, because the Vikings, their offensive line is not very good, and they don't do well versus power, and that's what this defensive line is literally made of. So I think Jalen Carter gets there maybe more than once tonight. So definitely looking forward to that.
Yeah, I think that's a great pick, and I also read that the Vikings are without their starting center tonight, so I
Yeah.
think that's only going to make that weak offensive line even weaker. Um, I just imagine him in front of the home crowd. He's going to get amped up. He's going to get to the quarterback for a
Yeah.
sack.
And the Vikings gave up 2 last week to Tampa Bay. Like, our defense is going to eat tonight.
Yeah.
It's going to be
for
great.
sure. All right, Tom, kicking it back to you. Any picks on either side?
I got one other play here. It's on the Minnesota side of the ball. I just love, I have, so looking, we didn't usually, we'll go over some of the matchups. We didn't really do that, but I'll touch on it real quick. I have Philly ranked the number 2 overall pass defense, the number 2 overall rush defense. I have their offensive line ranked number 2, so they're number 2 across the board here. Just super elite. So I like an underplay here. I'm not, I don't give out a lot of unders, but I like Mattinson under 50.5 rush. I also love his under 71.5 rush plus receiving yards. You can see the rush yards he only went over once last season. Obviously, he was not the starter. Last week against Tampa Bay, he had 34 rush yards, 10 receiving yards. Tampa Bay, their defense is not nearly as good as Philly, but it was pretty good, especially their rush defense. Tampa Bay, I have them ranked 7th. So I think it's a pretty good comp there, especially in terms of running the ball. So I think unders on him are a good spot here. Whether you want to go just rush or you like that little extra cushion there with the rush and receiving. When he's had 4+ receptions, he's only had 4+ receptions in his career 3 times, since last season 3 times. He's cleared in only one of those 3 games. So I think these are all good plays. Any thoughts, guys?
I like that a lot. I do.
A lot of red in that chart.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. You love to see red when you bet the unders, right?
That's right.
Yeah, and I think, with any bets that you place for any sport, but especially for football, it's good to understand what how the game's going to play out before you start choosing your player props. And, you heard up front, we're expecting Philly to take a pretty sizable lead in the first or second quarter. So, that's only going to put, Minnesota in a position where they have to throw the ball more than run the ball. So I think, even just looking at past performance, that's good enough for Madison. But I think when you think about the game script here today, it's going to be even less opportunity. So I love that one, Tom.
Thanks, Dave.
All right. Very cordial on the show. All right. So, so I got another one to throw out there. Let me see if I can pull it up on props.cash. All right. So what do we think about Cousins with an interception today, right? Yeah, you loving that one?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
I'm absolutely.
So, I think just looking at this chart alone, what stands out to you? Week 2 of last year against Philly, 3 interceptions, right? That was a primetime game, Monday Night Football. Cousins is historically known to have bad primetime performances. And now you got, Amazon Prime Thursday Night Football game. So I think an interception is pretty solid, especially when you get it at -120. But let's dive into some of these new filters on props.cash. Let's see if I can remember. So what we can look at is losing at the end of the first quarter, right?
Wow.
Incredible.
Wow.
Right?
Incredible.
So
He
that's
tries
a pretty
to force things. Yep.
Yeah, that's a pretty compelling case. You got a 67% hit rate, only missed in 3 games. Also equally good. First quarter is kind of random, right? I do think Philly tends to come out strong, so they will likely be leading at the end of the first quarter. But depending on who wins the kickoff, that could could be tied or something. But so let's look at half. It's slightly less strong, but still pretty good. And look at the volume of interceptions. Like when he's throwing them, he's getting 2 or 3. So I think he's going to be in a position where he's kind of forcing some things. And he's got elite receivers, but that doesn't mean he's going to have success when he's trying to catch up in the game. So I love that play. Glad you're both on it as well.
And this functionality is so cool to be able to pull this up like this. This is just awesome.
Yeah, really cool stuff with these new screens.
Yeah.
All right, Breezy, you got any other plays for us here?
I did have two other plays.
Okay.
DraftKings does, game props or team props. I'm still waiting for certain things to drop on DraftKings. So if I have some plays later, they'll probably be most likely on the defensive side of the ball. But They have and this is under game props on DraftKings. They have a first sack recorded prop,
Hmm.
and obviously I took Philly at minus 135. So that's something I've never played before. So but we have Jalen Carter now, so why not?
Yeah.
And then the second one is kind of sneaky, but I mean it could happen. Quez Watkins over 15.5 receiving yards. That is minus 110, I believe, on FanDuel. And, he had 69 yards last year versus the Vikings. And then he had 17 last week in bad weather. So 16 yards, I don't think will be that difficult, especially when they're home. They've got to get everybody touches. Hurts is going to be spreading the ball around pretty good tonight, in my opinion. So I don't think Quez Watkins is as out of the question as far as receiving yards are concerned.
Yeah, like you said, he hit a monster game. I think he had a touchdown in that game too, if I recall. Quez Watkins.
I believe so. Yeah.
Yeah.
Dave, if you filter that on winning after the first quarter, it's very nice. Which I think will be the case here.
After the first quarter, yeah. That's pretty
nice.
Look at that. 80 yards, 69 yards. Oh yeah, we can look at the receiving touchdowns. Yeah, so he had a receiving touchdown against Minnesota. So we're not playing the touchdown, right? Probably not enough chances for that, but the receiving yards are could be one catch for him. So that's a sneaky one. I like those players that people aren't looking at. You might get more value on that line. And like you said, like we always say, shop around, because this is as high as 16.5 on Caesars and DraftKings, 15.5 on FanDuel. And if you have access to BetMGM, you can get 14.5. So I like that even more.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Tom, you got any other plays?
That was it. Yeah, just one game. So I went with those. Those are my two strongest plays, the Goddard and Mattinson. You got anything?
No, but I'm going to put you both on the spot and make you choose an anytime touchdown.
Oh, gosh.
All right. So again, we don't play these very often because they're a bit of a crapshoot. We did put out Jalen Hurts last week. I don't know how he didn't get it, but let's see what you guys like. So Hurts is the favorite at minus 102, and then it goes up from there. So I'll start with you, Tom. Who do you like here?
I mean, I'd probably go Goddard. Seeing as though he's going to have a lot more targets coming his way. That would probably be my pick. When something a little bit more sneaky, I see Boston Scott had a touchdown in three of the last 4 games to end last season. Or is that just at home? Oh, that was just at home. But 3 of the last 4 to end last season. So I don't know. Let's go Goddard.
Yeah, I was going to save my pick for last, but my pick was Boston Scott.
Okay.
Gainwell is out tonight, from what I read. So it's really up to Swift and I guess Scott and Penny. So I'm not really sure who's going to get the ball because after Gainwell, I think only Swift and and Scott got 1 carry each last week.
Yeah.
So
and Jalen Hurts will get the ball.
Yeah, Jalen Hurts will probably get the ball. Exactly. But I think that's some good value there. Like you said, if he gets 5 or 6 touches, especially at the goal line, he can get in there. All right, Breezy, who do you like here?
So from a player standpoint, I like DeAndre Swift.
Okay.
I think due to his lack of touches last week, I think and with Gainwell being out this week, I think they look for him to, punch it in at the goal line, within those 5 or 10 yards, he can be a real monster. Sneaky Eagles defense. I think they get a pick 6 on Kirk Cousins tonight.
Oh man, is that an option? Do we have that here?
Yeah, it should be on. No,
is it on there?
I don't know if it's listed on props.
Oh, it might not be on there. Yeah, let me see.
These might just be offensive players, but I actually really love that. We'll just see if we can parlay that with our Cousins interception, and I don't know if they'll let us do that. That would be amazing.
Let's see.
It's plus anytime is plus 500.
That's nice.
Yeah,
that works for me.
Yeah.
Very nice. All right, so a very Eagles centric podcast today, right? But it's not just because you're on. It's really because we think the Eagles are going to dominate this game and offensively, defensively. So hopefully we're right and we cash on all these picks.
Oh yeah.
Nice. All right, we're gonna get the podcast up and get a few picks up on Twitter/X, and we're all gonna make some money tonight. Thanks for coming on,
Yes,
Breezy.
we are. Thanks for having me, guys.
Yeah, thanks. Enjoy the game.
You too.